Hello, welcome to this live broadcast on QTV. My name is Mumudu. This program is brought to you by Pura, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. And here today we are going to discuss the authority's forthcoming Consumer Parliament, its seventh Consumer Parliament for that matter, to be held in Brikama on the 10th of December. But our discussion today will really focus on consumer complaints resolution mechanism, which is an important component, really, of Pura's consumer protection mechanism. I have here in the studio three gentlemen and a lady from Pura. On my immediate right, I've got Mr. Rodin Renner. He's the Deputy Director of ICT. And on his right, I've got Mr. Brahma Jame, who is the Director of Economic Regulations. And on my immediate left here, I've got Mr. Paul Mendy, who is the Director of Financial Admin. And on his left, we've got Jamilatu Seydifai, the Deputy Director of Consumer Affairs. Lady, gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. I suppose the natural place to start the first question should be, what is the purpose of this program? And who better? And as Rodin said earlier, ladies first. Who better than the Deputy Director of Consumer Affairs?
Good evening, viewers. As Mr. Mbocha has rightly stated, Consumer Parliament is a platform, it's an extension of our 148 call center. Pura has a call center whereby we get calls from consumers complaining about the services that they consume. As an extension of this 148, Pura came up with a platform called the Consumer Parliament, which is part of our awareness program dedicated for consumers to come and register their complaints and concerns that they may have with these services that they consume. As a way of background, Pura is a multi-sector regulator which regulates the telecommunication sector, electricity, water, which is NAWEC, petroleum sector, the ISPs as well. In giving services to the consumers, we have realized that all these operators have their own way of doing their own things. They have their offices, they are more organized, trying to make discussions among themselves. But as consumers, that we have to have a level playing field between these service providers and these consumers that consume their services. They are all saturated all over the country. So in order to bring them together, this is the only platform which we call the Consumer Parliament, gives them an avenue to come and have a tete-a-tete with these service providers. Because we have the 148, yes, but it is not enough. In this way, this platform has been giving them the opportunity to come and address their concerns regarding the services. Consumer Parliament gives an opportunity whereby only one consumer reporting about a particular area can serve the rest of those villages. So having this platform, one consumer can come from a certain constituency, explain about quality of network services. When this is being addressed and the operators have the opportunity to address this, it doesn't serve only that particular customer, but the consequences that they came from. So having this platform, we see that it is very, very effective in the sense that I can give you an example of a particular town or village, which is Gunjur. In our previous Consumer Parliament, they have not been having a good quality or potable drinking water for years. This is something that they've been going back and forth with NAWEC. But we have a representative, just one person came from Gunjur, complained about this. It gives them an opportunity now that they don't have just a potable drinking water from Gunjur, but it has been some kind of a negotiation whereby NAWEC was able to fast track this to give them the value of their money that they've been paying for. So notwithstanding, consumer education has been a platform in this because it helps us in many ways. I can say, for example, it is good for the consumer, but also for the regulator itself and also the service providers, in a sense that when we have this, it makes us to have our regulatory interventions in a way that based on the complaints that we are going to hear from this Consumer Parliament, it makes us to rejuvenate whatever methods we are doing to take the necessary decisions. It helps the service provider in the sense that you might be saying that you have the best quality network, but coming to this consumer parliament, you will hear a certain consumer can say that I have an antenna in my village, but we do not get a quality service or a good reception.
You know, we'll get into the details. First, maybe let me just get, you know, everybody's initial statement regarding this consumer parliament.
Okay.
Yes,
okay,
Mr. Paul Mendy.
Yes. As already mentioned, the consumer parliament will be held in Brikama on the 10th of December. So we urge all consumers, whether you have complaint or not, just come and just listen to some of the complaints of other consumers, and maybe also you can also benefit from some of the answers that the promises that is given by the operators.
Thank you very much. Mr. Rodin Renner?
Yeah, what I'm just going to add there is it's an opportunity for consumers to meet high-level officers of all those companies, because we normally urge CEOs and MDs to attend. Most of the directors will be there, and at least when you ask a question, you know, we make sure that these operators will answer the questions there and then, and even give a timeline as to how the problem can be solved. Although sometimes some problems can be immediate or medium term, maybe because they need to order equipment and you know how long those things takes. But then Pura makes sure that it takes all the information and, you know, do a follow-up.
Thank you.
For now.
Mr. Burama Jammeh?
I think I'll just add my voice to, the lady has said it all. By extension, the consumer parliament is just an extension of Pura's activities undertaken by the high unit, the consumer affairs unit. We created an avenue 148 as a platform, toll-free line that any service provider, any consumer can call to lodge a complaint at Pura. Now, but when you complain at Pura, the complaint is received by our assistants, who will also report to their senior manager. Senior manager will also escalate the problem to her before she gets to the operator. So there is a time lag. But the consumer parliament is their direct opportunity. The consumer has the right and the avenue to speak directly to the chief executive officer of QCell, for example, or your chief executive of Africell directly, face to face. Maybe you've never seen him. Or look, this is the problem in my village. I'm not having network. How can this problem be solved? There and then, it's not the supervisor of Africell or QCell or anybody. It's the chief executive officer himself will stand and address the question. And it will be recorded on live, and also the scripts will be there. Over time, Pura will make a follow-up. So since the promise is made at a higher level, chances are that it will be expedited. So this is one advantage of consumer parliament. It's an avenue that the consumers have first-hand interaction with their service provider at the highest possible level. So it's an event that we look forward to, and we encourage everybody to make a day and make that day free. That is 10th December in Brikama.
So the consumer parliament is consumer friendly.
Exactly.
That's what you just said there. Now let's get to the resolution mechanism, as it were. Can we talk about sort of what are the elements of this resolution mechanism? How does it work?
At the consumer parliament, we have rapporteurs that take notes of whatever has been said or discussed. We have a 360 degrees resolution mechanism process in the office. Like the other speakers has mentioned earlier, when someone speaks about something and there is a resolution that can be offered on the spot, we allow it to happen. Whereby they cannot give a resolution on that spot, they have an opportunity to give a timeline as to when this can be. And all these things are recorded and reports are written. When we come back to the office, we do make a follow-up with a particular with a particular operator who made that promise to ensure that whatever has been said, it's been followed. And we give our return calls to the complainant that complained this during the consumer parliament. So you are always up to date with whatever your complaint that you have lodged. There's a whatever follow-up has been done with the operator. You are also been given a feedback until this is resolved. Whereby, like Rodin has mentioned, that it requires a procurement of a particular equipment to have this thing taken care of. We consider, we put all those timelines into perspective, and to give the operators time to organize themselves, because this could be something that they have budgeted or not. If they haven't, we will give them the opportunity to see how best they can reorganize themselves to ensure that what is being promised to that consumer is being taken care of.
That's it. But here we need to understand, when we talk about public utilities, there are certain bodies that can be regarded as public utilities, isn't it?
Yes.
In education, in what else? In communications, electricity. Just go through the areas that are related to this mechanism.
Okay, the public utilities are so many in the country.
Exactly.
If, as you say, education, maybe even in goods or everything. But for the purpose of our work, we, by virtue of our Pura Act, it has mandated us to regulate certain specific public utilities. And these are telecommunications, broadcasting, electricity and water, petroleum, and maybe sewage. The Act also gave us a mandate to regulate transport and post, but we've not taken that on board yet. But for the purpose of this discussion, it's centered around the 5 areas I've mentioned. That is telecommunications, broadcasting, energy, water, sewage, and petroleum. These are the areas that are on our purview as an authority.
That's it. But I wonder though, when people lodge their complaints and then you investigate and come to certain findings, so with the recommendations, what happens? You will of course engage the parties involved, but then how does it work? How does that mechanism work? The dialogue, obviously there, but are there any enforcement powers in the end?
That is enforcement is always the last resort. What we encourage is when you have an issue with a particular operator, those are the first point of contact, because they have their own customer care services. Even though Pura has ensured that as much as the operator has their own call center or their customer care center, we also have a 148 unit. So we give you the opportunity to talk, because as much as we are regulating them, they are the one who knows what is in their systems. So when you report or you complain about a particular service provider, we give that particular service provider to do whatever they can for you to deal with your own customer. Whereby you do not succeed with whatever you want, this is when you are given the opportunity to come to Pura and report. So like I mentioned earlier, we have this, what we call a 360 degrees complaint resolution. When we receive a complaint, the first question we ask is, have you complained to your service provider first? If you don't, then we will ask you to, but we will still take note of your complaint to make sure that when you call up, we can follow up and say, yes, you've called earlier and we have referred you back to your provider. So we'll make a follow-up with your particular service provider, asking them that this particular complainant has complained and said A, B, and C. What have you done and how far have you been with his complaint? So this is how the thing revolves until we get to a resolution.
Exactly. You are the financial admin, Mr. Paul Mendy. So when it comes to your unit, how does it relate to everything that Madam's been saying, Jamila, to say the fact?
In the area of finance, we make sure that this program that we normally have, this biannual event of the Consumer Parliament, is taken care of financially and make sure that it is successful. And also in the area of if a certain operator fails to comply with certain promises or this, sometimes we levy them fines, and they make sure that those fines are they pay them.
That's it. So, and I wonder here as well, Mr. Roding Renner, of course, now in administration, in management, ICT comes to the very heart of it, collecting data and the like. What is your role in this?
Well, normally our role is when complaints come and consumer affairs at their level, they will try and solve the problem. But should in case it's they can solve it because it involves certain technical information and details, then they would escalate it to the technical department. If it was something about electricity or water, they will escalate it to the Directorate of Energy, likewise for petroleum. And then together, we form a team, and then we do the investigation. And of course, we don't do investigation on our own. We have to consult the service provider. You know, as you know, Pura has a balancing role, and that's why our job is a little bit difficult. You know, we have a balancing role of the subscriber, the customer, the service provider, and the government, who are the policy makers. So we always try to balance things, because if you take things too much to the favor of a consumer without regarding the role of the service provider, who knows, you might bankrupt that service provider, and then it closes, and what will happen? The customer will not have the service. And I don't think, you know, we don't want to have the services. So that's why that is what you know, they normally do. So depending on the complaint type, you know, we will do all those investigations. And you know, as I said, some problems can be solved there and then. And when we find the service provider wanting, normally it is also escalated to the Directorate of Legal Licensing and Enforcement. So they would look at the reports, and if a fine should be levied, then they would work with the finance, and they write their determination, and they send it to the service provider. At times, it's about refunding, you know, the customer, which we've done before, and we will make sure that the service provider would duly refund, you know, customers, so that everybody is happy. Although when somebody pinch your pocket, you are not normally happy, but then do the right thing. If you do the right thing, nobody will come to your pocket.
Thank you very much. Mr. Burama Jame, I'm Director of Economic Regulation. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I think our role is cross-cutting, because we are in the middle, and because the reason why regulation exists is to create a conducive environment for investment, and not at the expense of the consumers, and government also gets taxes for national development. So as Rinu said, it's a balancing act, kind of. We're in the middle, and so that investors get returns on their investment. But whilst they get returns on their investment, government also gets the taxes. Consumers get value for money. So as consumer economic regulation, we are in the middle, in charge of competition issues among operators, where there is competition. Where there is no competition, like NAWEC, we set the tariffs for them. If Gamtel, if they want to increase that tariff, they have to come to us, because it's a monopoly. Where there is monopoly, we set the tariffs, and we have a tariff setting mechanisms. Where there is competition, we ensure there is fair play in the market. So it's kind of that, but when it comes to consumer issues, most of the consumer issues are tariff related. It's the price here, the cost here. So when I'm cheated, I bought credit, it disappeared. Those are the kind of things that mostly come. And when they get that, because they are the first point of contact. But there's an expert in telecommunications, that is this department. They will investigate. If it is tariff issues, we also do our investigation jointly with them, and a report is generated. And once the report is generated, depending on the nature of the complaint, if it can solve easily, it's addressed. If it is not, it's escalated to Director of Legal. And once legal is involved, it involves either a punitive measure, either a fine or some other recommendations to be done. But as that is the last resource, as they say, and the relationship with a service provider and a consumer is to have that harmony. So the problems, they are bound to happen, but when harmony is solved there and then, you don't have to go to the extent of fines, escalating to the highest possible level. So this is where we are. We work as a team, because most of the complaints are cross-cutting. So it's not just restricted to one department. Consumer affairs is the point. Telecoms issues, we deal with water issues, we deal with the water expert, and petroleum also the petroleum expert. So this is the arrangement we have. So our work is cross-cutting. We are in the middle, so to ensure that there is competition in the market, and also operators also abide by their rules and duties as assigned to them by the law. On the law, where there is no competition, we set the tariffs, and that's it.
That's it. Maybe you should talk a bit more about the Consumer Parliament, because here, when I hear Consumer Parliament, then I'm inclined to ask, how can I become a parliamentarian?
That's the good part. Everybody can be a parliamentarian. It's an open day thing. It starts from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. and anybody can walk in. You don't even have to stay until the end of the day. Like I said, one person can come from a constituency and represent the entire constituency. So you don't have to stay the whole day. You can come in and you can come and say, we have a moderator. So when you come in, we give the moderator the opportunity, all your questions that you're going to ask has to go through him, because we want sanity in the meeting. So we cannot allow anybody to come and say whatever you want. But you can address your questions through the moderator, and he will be the one, referring it to the particular operator concerned. So it's an open day thing. You don't need to pay, it doesn't cost anybody to pay a dime to get in. So it's a free, open thing that you can come in and be there. Even if you don't have questions, like Mr. Mendy has mentioned earlier, you could just come and observe. Maybe some of the concerns that you may have in your area, somebody might raise it from another area. So once you had it, it might resolve your problem. Like it's an opportunity, you have all these CEOs there. You are going to have a tete-a-tete with them. So you will know your service provider, because maybe you are just consuming a service. So when you have a particular complaint, you only call 111, and that's where it all stops. But this, you have an opportunity to say, Mr. Mohamed Jah, I'm here. I live in Wellingara. My antenna, I can see a QCell antenna in my area, but we don't have a good reception. And he can have an opportunity to give you a commitment right there to ensure that you have the value for money that you are paying for.
That's it, and I think that is very important. Maybe I'll give everybody a chance. The importance of this Consumer Parliament, the benefits, not just to the consumers and the service providers. I think we should talk a bit more about this, perhaps so that people can use it a bit more.
Okay, the benefits are many. It varies. Like, for example, there are some areas, the service of the regulatory operators are not, the service are not available there. But with the opportunity of that, one of the consumers, they said, one of the consumers attend the Consumer Parliament, he can come and voice out the concern of the particular area and say that we don't have service. We want the service of like QCell or GAMCell or Comium or AfriCell in this area. So with that, it's an opportunity for the operators even to invest in that area and get value for money and also return on investment. So it's a very important event.
Yep, absolutely. Mr. Rena, same question. The importance, the significance, the benefit, so that people can participate even more.
Yeah, I think what I was going to say, Paul has said it. I mean, it's not only the it's not only the consumers, that will benefit, operators themselves, because, I mean, in Gambia, most of the time, people don't like to complain, and if you don't complain, people can't help you. And sometimes, to be frank, the operators, though they have control and monitoring mechanisms, but certain things happen in certain areas, and they don't know until somebody calls. And sometimes when you sit down, you say, oh, this network is not good here, it's not that. It's not that, I mean, they want it to be like that, but then maybe they didn't get the information. And sometimes when when, for example, in those kind of forum, you would hear a service provider, accept that definitely they've never heard about the problem at a particular area, and right away, maybe a few days later, everything comes to, to fruition. So I think the importance of this Consumer Parliament cannot be overemphasized. So it's good for everybody to go, and I think we're also working on having some live streaming with some of the broadcasters, so that, okay, fine, I mean, it's not realistic that everybody from Gambia will go to Birkama. Those who can go, even from Serekunda, from Banjul, it doesn't mean that only people from Birkama should go. But then those who are very far or who cannot go, you have the opportunity of listening to radio or TV. I mean, I think Jamila will will expand on that and mention the medias that will be there. So you can call live, give your message, and you'll be responded to on air, right away.
So is it that you will hold these sessions across the regions? Is that or?
Well, we've been doing it. I mean, as you rightly said, this is the 7th. We've done it in Banjul, we've done it in KMC, we've done it in, different areas. I can't remember all the places, but Jamila will say all those things. He has it at the top of the head there.
And perhaps this is the right point to go into local languages. We've said quite a lot, haven't we? Yeah. So we put this, what we've said, to one of
just to elaborate what Mr. Rodin was saying, we will have like iAfrica TV, so he will do live streaming. Even those in international, they can call in it, they are online. We had that at the monument when we were once hosting it there. Someone called from the US. He paid for a meter. He paid for a meter at NAWEC. Unfortunately, NAWEC has not done an expansion during that time, but he got all the information at the Consumer Parliament and he was able to have what he wants. So it cuts across the entire spectrum. Being locally in the Gambia here or internationally, you can have access to this Consumer Parliament because it will be live streaming.
That's it. So like when you do get your of us or say, any of these languages, could I come in first? It's up to you.
I think Jamila, you start.
Jamila, you start. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, coming kafale nyamin dorom. Yeah, pura la balye jang, pura lom doku bundati masakunda emil londi. Puruka doku fanal jibe milbe Gambia banko kanjang nanata bulukono telefono la mobile lolu anin gamtel Africell Comium QCell anin nawek wala ka kurango nin GD anin internet service provider wol siata le bawo mo jamaay ni wifi soto la swol kono le anin essentiel mi alon ko downstream petroleum mi alon ko wala ka essentiel wafi a nyimbe nga kere le pure nombala soto ka fu mi 148 mi yalon ko toll free lom nin ko toll free wala mi sa number commandino from any network itani bututo jola je yo ngaji be ko mol ka kumandile bari wo dorom manke kuti mi yalon ko ngaje ko mo jama ya ko kala mutale so kanyim be min Consumer Parliament ka kere le sanji fula nyinan mbakela brikamale December karo atilitan be commence le talantan so mandala kata fo talan lulu tilibulo momo sinano le yake consumer yake parliamentarian noti parliamentarian no molati mi yalon ko itabe tundo to Gambia banko ka isa dunnan no jele ya fo kon tabe nyin sate karile walla be nyin fanna karile to barinka na reception o nyin nana ta mobile la karola mbuka network o soto walla man kuranga soto na dulato walla nga kuranga soto jele na je fanan na pompol bukata ibajale nyin Consumer Parliament abe bunda jamale yiru wandila amanta dannete marila nafa dammala barila sate molu walla ni miliyalon ko atolle be tundi kiloto afula jango fanan abe opportunity le dile la miliyalon ko ini ñu operator milimnge be fajang ini be sa benno jele ita sinano le Mohamed Diaje walla ye sign je miliyalon ka be Africell ya fay ko tebota nan maybe kombo sanyang mberna tol benna sate to le bari Africell buka seneyaje nga credit call sanga sim card ol soto bari buka network o soto ite mo kilmo min botanan sanye nata yaku mofo tumando bate ite la kuma kan doro bate na anteno be futano la sanyanne mi yenyon Consumer Parliament la ala nafa siyandi wolum nyentiko ite kiliano mi ya lonko ike fan nafa nyin service olla akete nafa le because ila vitamin na yake ibe wala jelaje natara operator la fanam ata fanan samu ta ko ala network o bete ato dulado tole bariyara fantaga nyimmin fo amam beteaje woton be katakelale ninki usella beteata jante fanan ata Africell natara regulatolum as Pura abentol fanam ma koy lale because kulo mi yalon ko kanna do ko la yirwande modo ya fala ko ay manje soto non gunjuru ale ma koy birana ta je nyinan beñin tembo min to ten ita ka jioji mi la sate to ninji betolum gunjuru kol fanay wala soto woto ay nafala soto operator e ay nafala soto ite cliano e ay nafala soto service provider nyum fanaye mbal be danelal yefutananje.
Thank you very much.
Okay, jërëjëf suñu seetaan katil luñ jota wax fi mu nekk Consumer Parliament Pura mu ngi ñu organise benn Consumer Parliament Brikama on the 10th of December. so ñu ngi ñaax ñëpp ñu ñëw teewe ko soo mënutee ñëw wala soo mënee si benn gox su benn nit mënee jógee foofu ñëw make a complaint of anything like maybe network problem or naka kurang amu fo sa area wala ndox amul sa area. This is an opportunity for you pour nga ñëw Brikama si Consumer Parliament on the 10th of December pour nga mën a ñëw wax sa seen jafe-jafe daal si wàllum kurang si wàllum mobile phone wàllum internet yëpp ñu ngay ñaax ñëpp ñu ñëw on the 10th of December.
merci ma laajte lii rek benn fan boobu la or is it a week waaw benn fan boobu la rek.
benn fan rek la on the 10th of December samedi bu ñëw nii mu ngi commencé fukki waxtu si suba ba juróomi waxtu si ngoon.
local
waaw ok li ma see yokk rek mooy ne comme ni ko Paul waxee fukki waxtu ci suba ba juróomi waxtu si ngoon waaye nekkut ne da ngaa ñëw toog suba ba ngoon bu la neexee su fekkee ne am nga time bi su fekkee tamit da nga busy mu ngaa ñëw suba wax li ngay wax nga dem li nga wax yëpp nañ ko record am na ñi faa toog ñoo xam ne seen liggéey yëpp mooy pour lu consumer bi wax rek o lu mu laajte ñu binda ko bu ko defee binda yooyu ñu ngi koo def parce que bëggu ñoo fàtte dara parce que soo laajtee dara dañ fa fekk kilifa compagnie yi GSM yi Gamtel Nawek broadcasters yi dinañ fa nekka su ko defee ñoom dañ fa yow boo laajte sa question nañ la ko mun a tontu ci saa si sa tontu bi ñu laa tontu sax am nañ lu ñoo ooyee ay rapporteur ñu fa toog ñoom dinañ binda ba pare li si gën a neex nag te boobu dama ko dee enjoy dañ dee am li ñu dee ooyee experts special area experts ñu fa dee toog maanaam xam nga lii yëpp mun naa wax ne nit mun naa def anything so léeg-léeg amoon na benn boo xam ne dañ toogoon mu am lu ñu laajte woon benn operator o benn service provider mu ñëw njabas tontu bi xam nga laxas ko nii bugg a selmal origaay bugg a selmal consumer bi waaye fekk suñu experts yi ñoom xam nañ ne lii kii lu mooy wax du dëgg after gars yi ekkati nañ seen loxo ñu leeral affaire bi ne opérateur bi na joxe xam nga ansa boo xam ne dafa correct so loolu moo tax yëpp dañ ko dee record te suñ paree dañ dee dem toogaat seet yëpp den comme ñu def suñ follow up si ñu mun a gis ne yenn problème si mun nañ ko régler ci saa si waaye yenn yi mun naa jël tuuti time parce que su fekkee ne problème bi xëy na dafa soxla order ay jumtuwaay yu war a ñëw xam nga fii jagaruñ bagage yooyu fii so dinañ dee mun a laaj service provider bi kañ nga foog ne da nga mun a order lii ñu nuur ko daaw su time bi jotee ñu ñëwaat si moom ne ko time bi nga ñu joxoon naka te su lii yëpp su dee xew dañ dee also di yëgal ki joxe woon complaint boobu dañ ko dee call ne ko sa complaint bi ñu ngi koo toppa fii la toolu ba problème bi rek rek.
merci yaa ngi wax foofu lu very crucial the fact that nañ am experts ñu mun a evaluate technical information. Extraordinary bit. Thank you. Mr. Brahma Jame.
I think let me go to Mandinka.
Okay, yes.
Bal lamoral be kontan ko take ndr puran ko lumurta la jang ko men aja to ya fo nyamen ndr bota pura masako na to le londi ka ni service men kete ko krangoti jiota anen mobile olu anen broadcasting an TV man fanto jang kata radio station role anen sanse role yen to le londi ka je ko la tamandir nyani sarto tamata masako nda me landi so do ko ni mbakira fana na adoko man diak na doko be mo sabale tema la kafu sabale tema menon ke bi important le consumer menon ko e mantra nyokan dolbe basé dolbe banjun dolbe sere kunna dolbe la bieto operator fana menon ko le ka service provide ani masa kunna fana me la sino dila so dolbe to le tema ka me so da mo la sarto mo menti yata manda nyama wata man dobe kala nyaade le mas sitano operator ya sitano official ni la kiam ni la maintenant so da ngay solve the problem sitano chiusel ni si nga problème discuss nga solve bar masakuna finance sitano minister na dia but consumers are all over the place so pro ni diamu abe collateral so what nga opportunity create pro every 2 years we create a particular day walum kilin londi kame consumer parliament wala min momo si bono dawoda yenaji yesi be nga mes operators fana ila kebali na si ala nyaati li nyola ila solo moment ya nyinin kaji so ne probo nyinin kaw je because yara ibe nyinin ibe jabiro di la jele bare nga 148 sort of Pura fana men ko through the operations ne commission 148 call ba ne 148 call jama ka consumer assistant wala soto consumer assistant will escalate to the supervisor and the supervisor escalated to the manager all the way to the director before the problem is solved. Now, the director of finance he will call either NAVEC or QCell or AfriCell. But the consumer parliament chance men dealer as a consumer there and then even would like operator call directly after Mr. Diab or Mr. Ja ndela problem unity nanyi sare kara ita ba mun keno laje there and then answer delay. So all the processes in ababe bypass la answer delay directly I don't know fana ba record ni nga record ba me sola fana ko ba normal nga je ko ay ka nyama so bo recommend problem mo jama bi nana aka so but certain problems fana me yalan ko at abuka solve no immediately do bi fe baka so do order or sometimes ni ko ibota a village mantal man we don't my electricity is no then what problem then the NAVEC will give you an answer but answer may not be necessarily immediate because it has to be for a project or so me yalan ko abe area ñun tole is in the pipeline or anything but not everybody be not issues la menako service obiji is problem so those can immediately meter tinyata o ñene keta they can easily solve that but network mo fra da wada those are things that they have to put in their budgets and work towards solving them so it's a very good opportunity dula mi anan ko dal jama bi ñini kar jama bi mo keta jenin la hidol men dita jama bi aka solve so be molbe dan la brikama nkola na danda na satel kabo sanya gunjur momo problem mo sort of the consumers yana brikama box ba on the 10th of December kabo talantang hotela ludo isina niye visita fana isina do yene question accident yetela do ko ke akamo la do ko tinya par mo la fer dal mo be yana mo la kata yana hajo mo wala parce que gameno naturally ba complain ni sita na vulton se complain no ni borkana formally ka complain no ke dal mo ka pare yala so we want to encourage everybody to come Momo issue sort of on the 10th of December, Brikama Box Bar Stadium. Huh?
Wow, these are interesting. Actually, this is the 7th edition, isn't it? I wonder, let me point to your achievements, what impact you've had so far since the creation of this consumer parliament.
Liñ am moy ci li ni bo baye xel amon nañu complain di wax ne dama dé tok be haaji gudi operator si di ma send text message pour ma subscribe to a particular service so tax na ci loo xam ne dañ ko gestu lu nit ñi war a understand mooy sometimes regulation is reactive dafa am li war a xew pour ñu mën a def lu ñu war a def so this consumer parliament am na ci loo xam ne nit ñi complain nañ ba taay dama dee toog am ñoom ne seen sëy yi sax dañ ci am problème because dañoo toog rek jot a text message ñu ne nga subscribe to this nga def lii so tax na ba Pura dafa def ay gestu ñu contact suñu other sister regulators in the sub-region ñu gis ne ñu bari def nañ loo xam ne mooy do not disturb so we created this platform for do not disturb ñu binda a guideline about it ñu def consultation ak operators yëpp ñu indi leen on board waxtaan ak ñoom ne lii lañ nekk seen customers yi di jànkuwante waaye liñ bugg a def mooy lii lañ teral ñu nit comme ne yéen ñëpp da ngeen bugg a because lu ñoo def rek dañoo waxtaan ak regulator operators si ñoom ñëpp pour buñ ne anybody duñ am benn surprise biñ amee consultation ak ñoom ñoo validate document bi den si lañ leen wax ne ñoom ñëpp nañ on stop all their consumers from the network customer bi yow yaa am the right pour wax ne léegi bugg naa receive messages about football bugg naa receive messages about this religious ñaan yeeg yooyu noonu leen so these are one of few things yoo xam ne mun naa laa wax ne dafa am impact on the consumer parliament bi moom moo ko waral because nit ñi ñoo ko doon joytu te ay noone man victime la yow victime nga kenn nga waaye bi mu amee li yàlla def na fu mu nekk nii so far yow yaay mën a binda yow yaay mën a send a text to 1040 pour wax ne bugga naa receive messages about football or bugga naa receive noda or anything else so li mooy one of the reasons yoo xam ne dafa am impact torop.
I think also if I can add to what you say, yes. It's an activity that kind of it's an ongoing process. Also, that is also inbuilt in our complaint resolution mechanisms, arrangements in the office. You have certain complaints are not necessarily, those are major ones. But let's assume we don't have network in my village. Operators will send antenna. So the water system in our community is a problem, like the Gunjur incident is solved. Some places operators when also because you have quality of service and quality of experience. At our office we have quality of service equipment, that's technical parameters that looks at the network coverage and give us an indication that it is pass or fail. But it may be different from the experience of the consumer on the ground. Now, when you create this opportunity, and the operators also maybe they may have their own system how to monitor their network performance, but that may be different from the experience of the consumers on the ground. So with this kind of opportunities, the consumers will come and tell you, look, after sell network with Bahut, where are you staying? Kunjur or Lamen, for example. Then operators will look, well, but based on our map and coverage map, if that should be covered. But that's an understanding for them. So what happens, they'll go back, maybe increase the power of the antennas or do some adjustments. If there is water issue also, water board, then now we could say, well, but you have an Indian project. Make sure you'll factor these areas, these satellite areas that are not coming. So it's a very important avenue. So many things discussed. There was a time even we had the 2 years ago, the focus was on how do you call
disability.
it? Let me use the right word. Is it?
People with disability.
Physically challenged people. Physically challenged people. They made mention that when they buy credit, they are given a lot of bonus. But they cannot use this bonus to make calls because they don't call. So they ask the operators, you can translate this bonus to megabytes for them. Because they use data to communicate. So, and promises were done in that regard. So many things, it's like it enhances the effectiveness of our service delivery and also our regulatory interventions. So when we come into contact with consumer, they tell us these issues, and it becomes known to us. Operators also will know about them, and it makes life easy for everybody. So it's a very important avenue, and we always look forward to it because it also challenges us also, because people sometimes can be very critical of us also, because sometimes when you go to radio programs, somebody will call you. You may decide to answer or not to answer. The moderator may choose to avoid it. But when you come live in a forum, face to face with you, Pura so it's challenging. It challenges us also. So to be on our toes and make sure that we do the right thing also. So it's not only the operators, even us, we come under the spotlight, and our director general will also be there. Sometimes some past ones they were very tough on with us also. So, but it's kind of enhances the effectiveness of service delivery in the country generally.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're coming really towards the end. And earlier on, you want to?
Yes, just to add to what he said, I remember also I think the program at the monument, there was this mention of sign language, on TV, and I think after that, we are not getting it 100% as we want it to be, but in most programs now, we would see that there is sign language. I mean, on TVs. And another one was also somebody talking about no network in a particular area, and it was brought to the attention of everybody that the operators wants to go there, but then they didn't have a site for their antenna, and they've been looking around for a story building to lease. That was also a problem. So at least this kind of forum, if people are there and they hear this complaint and an operator mention that, might be there will be somebody there who can offer and say, look, I can offer you my place. So all those things, they help, both sides.
Absolutely. And it's very interesting that earlier on you mentioned people with disability. I think some people accept that. But that most institutions, there are no provisions for them, because you've got stairs, no provisions for wheelchair people. Is that part of your domain? Can you interfere just as you did with the sign language?
Like he said, at the monument, we organized a consumer parliament purposely. The theme was for the people with physically challenged, and it gave us the the platform to invite the operators, to tell them to have access, to provide access for the physically challenged people to have access to their customer care centers, because they said they always come, but they had to be upstairs or somewhere in the ground floor, and it's difficult for them to get it, people with the wheelchair. And this is something we've discussed with the operators, and it has given it has made at least 80% of them to create that access for the physically challenged people.
Absolutely.
With ramps, yes.
Anything to add to that?
I think, yeah, I think, as I said, it's an interaction. We create the best possible avenue for transparent interaction between the parties. Now, if I call somebody and the consumer, I lodge a complaint, it goes to a supervisor, as I said. But this one is direct contact. We see face to face, we discuss the issues. And in the process also, when certain things are, the experts also from Pura, who will also address certain issues. When there is a misunderstanding, the experts will come and address it. And in that way, people tend to learn. And for me, it has been a learning experience for me, because some consumers, when the intervention shows you that if they know the sector more than you claim to be, because even though they are outside. So we learn a lot from them. If certain things we take for granted, because we never thought about this fiscally challenged people, the issues they have. We thought maybe if operator is giving bonuses, everybody should be happy. But we didn't know that, behold, there is a section of the community that is disadvantaged. But, and also the issue of the ramps, so we made it mandatory. All consumer raters should be on the ground floor. And there should be a ramp for fiscally challenged people to enter. So these are things that we took for granted. We thought maybe we are doing the right thing. So long as there's a consumer interface between an operator, so he has passed the test. Not unknown to us that there are certain things, basic things that we took for granted. So it's a very interesting program, and I invite all of you, Mr. Mboj, even all of you, to the event and see firsthand how it is running. It's Pura organized, but we take the back seat. The moderator and the consumers own the day. So it's not like we manipulate anything. Once we do the opening ceremony, we sit back. The moderator and the consumers and the operators. The game is between those people. We start. The only time Pura comes in, if there is a misunderstanding, that's for clarification purposes. Then that's the time Pura will come in and clear the air.
Of course, and here, of course, we have to talk about responsibilities. I mean, surely for this mechanism to work, it takes everybody must take their responsibilities. Earlier on, we hinted at the fact that we tend to be so apathetic, really, and not taking part. So for this, everybody must take their responsibilities seriously, isn't it? People must go and complain if they have to. Let's talk a bit more on people's responsibilities. We're always talking about my rights, my right, my rights. Not much of my responsibility, my responsibility, my responsibility.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Also, we are also urging the CEOs of all the GSM operators and other service providers like Mr. Ja, Sain, Diab, and others to also make it a point of duty and attend that day, because it's an opportunity for them also, for their consumers also to know them and also to interact with them also. That's what we want to emphasize on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Madam, more on the responsibilities that people have, all these different stakeholders, really.
Yeah, just like Mr. Mendy and Brahma just mentioned, it is very important. Like it helps in across all the spectrums: the regulator, the consumer, the service provider. This is more so, like I said, it's dedicated for consumers to come, because this is an opportunity. Every day is a consumer parliament in Pura, because we have this 148 that you can call without paying a butud. But like we mentioned earlier, people of the Gambia, we are not used to complaining. Because when people complain, we think they are reporting. So if I complain about a particular person, maybe the person is going to lose their job. But what about you as a consumer using your money to pay for a service which you are not having value for money for? So in this platform, you have an opportunity to have a tete-a-tete, say whatever you want in a very professional manner, because you cannot just come there to say, because you are angry at, about a particular service provider, you can come and say anything you want. No, we expect professionalism. When you come, you have a moderator, you have your question, you raise your hand. When you raise your hand, you will have a mic coming to you. So in that mic, whatever you need to address, you cannot talk to Mr. Jha directly. You address your questions to the moderator, and he will transfer the message to the Mr. Jha, and Mr. Jha can respond whatever answers they need to provide. So, but that is very, very important, that professionalism, and we have respect and regard for each other is very, very important on that very day, because it's an open forum.
Absolutely coming to us. And Mr. Rana, you contributed?
Yeah, just to tell everybody to come in. I mean, I said earlier, you can come in the morning and leave, or if you have things to do in the morning, come in the evening, you know, and close the Consumer Parliament with us. But everybody is welcome, and come with your questions. And I think, as Jamila said, I will just reiterate that we need to respect each other when we are there. You know, we need to keep our emotions behind and ask the real questions of substance.
Thank you very much. And finally, I'm Brahma, just 2 minutes. Brahma,
let me just comment wrong. Absolutely. It's an open forum on the 10th, but na domo dan ni mo monata nga kata nga kamfara nyawonya ya kamfalandi ila sahajo mente yofo ni respect ko nga nyo respect nga nyo la judi nyola so that ko ndafa menen sa so no.
Thank you very much. You've got it right there. We've come to the end of the program. Thank you very much, listeners. You're just watching a Pura program on their forthcoming Consumer Parliament in Brikama on the 10th of December. From 10 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the evening. Thank you very much. Until next time, I'm Moden Bosch. Goodbye.